gamers, and welcome back. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshak if you want to call me by my in-game name. This is a video a lot of you have been looking forward to and asking me about during the stream today, so I'm going to try to pump it out as soon as possible. We just wrapped up with the stream, and these are all of the cards as of now. I'm sure as we move forward, more and more cards will get announced, so we'll talk about them when they come. But as of now, these are all the cards that have been announced from the Frozen Throne set, so we're going to do a quick review. I haven't really spent a lot of time looking at any of these cards yet, so this is basically just my first impression, and then once all of the cards get released, we can kind of get a better idea of where everything stands. But as of now, we're just going to take a basic look and kind of just say what the card as it is. You know, we don't have a full set, we haven't played with the cards, we're gonna be wrong, but a lot of these cards I think will be right. So the first card's gonna be the Warlock Legendary Blood Queen. So she's a 5 mana 1/6, so the health is definitely there. Lifesteal, which is the new mechanic, not really new, it's a mechanic that's been around, but they basically were able to save card text by just saying lifesteal instead of whenever this minion does damage, heal yourself for that amount. So they definitely save text there, and it says has +1 attack for each card you've discarded this game, not disenchanted. So most of the time for 5 mana minions, 5 to 6 health is pretty reasonable. The 1 attack is what is going to make or break this card, right? So there's a couple things that come to my mind when I look at this and I think about it, right? There was a card very similar to this in the aspect of starting with 1 attack and growing over the course of the game, and it was a Paladin Legendary. It's like Bolivar or something, and it came, I believe it was the TGT Legendary, and it said for every minion that dies on the battlefield, or if you play, I don't know, it had something to do with minions, and I'm pretty sure whenever you played a minion or whenever a minion died, one of the two. We'll pull them up on the screen if I have time, if not I will. And he gained +1 attack, and I believe he had 7 HP, and I believe he was a 5 or 6 mana card in the card. He saw no play. Granted, he didn't have lifesteal, but it kind of falls under the same boat, right? Like, you're paying 5 mana for a card that could potentially be bad. We're going to have to see what other Warlock cards get brought up to the table, right? Because if we get a lot of great discard Warlock cards, or like cards that say makes cards that cannot be discarded, or you choose what can and cannot be discarded. Because let's say this gets discarded, it comes back. If you even, there's that 5 mana 5/5 that says, you know, you can bring back a card that got discarded. You're going to bring back a 1/6 that has lifesteal. It doesn't even come back buffed. The same thing with the Clutch Mother, right? Like, you could discard a 2/2 Clutch Mother, and then that's the card that always gets brought back, not the 4/4 or the 6/6. So you always get bamboozled there. So I'm not overwhelmingly impressed by this at the first looks, but again, there's more set to be revealed, and we definitely could see something that synergizes really well with it. So the next card is going to be the Tickling Abomination. Yeah. Moving on to the Mountain of Armor, or Mountain Fire Armor. This is good. So it's a 3 mana 4/3. Sorry, I didn't get rid of the card before. I'm still getting used to OBS. I'm so used to just editing cards in, but at the moment I just don't have time for it. So this is how we're gonna do our setup. So 3 mana 4/3 stats are there. You know, anything for 3 mana that's a 3/4 or 4/3, those are just really good stats. So even if it has an okay ability, most of the time, depending on the deck you're playing, you can run it. It says Death Rattle. If it's your opponent's turn, gain 6 armor. This could be huge. So if it's your opponent's turn, so you play the card, right? And then if your opponent kills it on their turn, which is normally when they attack or cast spells, you gain 6 armor. And if you trade into it on your turn, you don't really get anything, but it's a Death Rattle, so it can get brought back with N'Zoth, because N'Zoth in the Warrior decks, we always had hard targets to find for that, you know? In Paladin, they have Tyrion, and stuff like that. But in Warrior, we have, what do we have? We don't have anything in Warrior that would really, you know, we've got the Infested Tarn, and then that 4 or 5 mana 1/1 that turns into a 5/5, but no Warrior exclusive cards that have Death Rattle that are anywhere near meaningful to play. So I think N'Zoth Warrior or some form of Control Warrior could in fact be something we see. But the thing is, why would you ever play a Control Warrior deck that doesn't run the quest? That would be strictly worse than the Quest Warrior. So they kind of pigeonholed themselves there, right? So hopefully Quest Warrior, or not Quest Warrior, but maybe in a Control Warrior, like let's say the new Warrior Death Knight card, when it replaces the hero power and does whatever the fuck it's gonna do, we don't know yet. Maybe that can compete with the new Ragnaros hero power that the quest gives, you know? I would really like to see Control Warrior back into the picture, and seeing cards like this, you know, it brings hope that maybe, you know, the Death Knight hero power for the warrior class can be pretty good. Who the fuck knows? But I'm hoping, right? I mean, this is a pretty good card, and it's pushing the right direction for Control, so I'd love to see something like that. The next card is going to be Icebreaker. It's a shaman card. It's a 3-mana 1/3, destroy any frozen minion damaged by this. Yeah, where does this lie? Think with me here, guys. Shamans have Frost Shock. Maybe they're going to release some Shaman freezing stuff. Freezing Totem. At the end of each turn, freeze 1 minion on your opponent's side of the field. I swear to God, if that's a card, I did not know. I did not know Freezing Totem was going to be a card. Glacial Shard. Glacial Shard, there you go. Maybe we'll see some like elemental tempo shaman that runs Icebreaker, Glacial Shards, Freezing Totem, and stuff like that, and Frost Shocks. But where's your win condition? I don't know. Seems cool. Seems interesting. Keep in mind, you can be like, Rob, why is Shaman getting all these weapons? They have Jade Claws, Spirit Claws, Claws, Axes, Doom Hammers. What's going on? Remember when sets rotate out that they're going to be a lot of sets, or a lot of classes lose a lot, so them being like making sure they print enough weapons in each set, so when a set falls off or 2 or 3 sets falls off with the rotation, that there is still something there. Because let's say they go a set or 2 without printing some decent weapons, you're gonna have some periods at which the deck doesn't have anything, right? So they just have to make sure that when they print specific cards, that it cuts off on the dates of rotations, but it doesn't give them too many weapons, but it doesn't give them too few weapons. So hopefully that made sense for some of you. The next card we're going to go over is a warrior card. It's a 4-mana 2/2 Blood Razor, Battle Cry, and Death Rattle. Deal 1 damage to all minions. For those of you who are around in the days of Death Spite, this is just such a bad Death Spite. Like, because it's 4 mana. Right, that's the Death Spite. That's where it fills in. Its Death Spite Death Rattle was deal 1 damage to all minions. It had 4 attack instead of 2. Granted, its Battle Cry wasn't deal 1 damage to all minions. Not to say that this is a really bad card, but I think it's a strictly worse Death Spite. Like, that card is just insane. So when you have wild cards and you have to choose between Blood Razor and a fucking Death Spite, let me tell you, I don't think this is gonna be this isn't the Christmas present you were looking for. The Death Spite's the Christmas present, right? Maybe there's more synergy with dealing 1 damage to your own minions. I can see how that's a positive with cards like Bloodhoof Brave, Alkalite of Pain, and general activators for cards that require you to take 1 damage. Any Enrage effect. I would have liked to see this card. I would like to see Fiery War Axe get, as much as I love the Warrior class and I love, you know, how good Fiery War Axe is in Warrior, I would like to see Fiery War Axe move to Hall of Fame and a card like Blood Razor come in and make this a 2-mana card. Just make this a 2-mana card. It replaces Fiery War Axe, but it's strictly a little bit... It synergizes with other stuff really good, but it has 1 less attack, and it's not competing with so much shit. Even make this a 2-mana 1/2. Battle Cry, deal 1 damage to all minions. Death Rattle, deal 1 damage to all minions. It still gets played. I bet this would still be played as a 2-mana 1/2. Maybe, 2-mana 2/1. I don't fucking know. I just feel like this card, it's like, where is it gonna fit in? I could be completely wrong, but I just feel like I just don't see it. I like it, but I just don't see it. And that's probably because I haven't seen all the cards yet. The next card was Speculation card. It was said to be leaked, and then people complained all over my Instagram and Twitter, oh, this is a fake card, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake, but yet it's on every Hearthstone related site in regards to cards that have been released. So I'm gonna go with what the guys who run the Hearthstone sites say is an actual card. I'm not a card creating master over here, but you know, if I go to 3 or 4 different Hearthstone related websites that's what I go to when I pull cards from and see what people have to say, this is on there, I'm gonna go with that. So if you don't agree that this isn't a card yet, so be it, but I'm thinking it is. The 9 mana, gain 5 armor when you play it. Battlecry, summon a 3/6 water elemental, so at least you get a minion out of the deal, and it says your elementals have lifesteal for the rest of the game. So as cool as this does seem, I like the whole, giving mage some longevity ability to have lifesteal. You generate a minion, it has elemental synergies, you get a little bit of armor. 9 mana is a fucking hefty price to pay for a 3/6, let me tell you. And also, I have no idea what the hero power is going to turn into. We knew with the Hunter Death Knight when it turned into Undead Rexar or Huntard, it was build your own, build a bear, build your pet, or whatever it was. You combine 2 beasts together, and bada bing, bada boom. I don't know what the fuck this is going to be. I have no idea. It hasn't, no one said anything. I tried to look at the comments to see if anything might have leaked through the cracks there. Couldn't find anything in regards to that. So at the moment, the hero power for this could be, a 2 mana summon a water elemental. All of a sudden, this is pretty good. It's like kind of Jiraxis, but not really Jiraxis, but kind of like Jiraxis, a Jiraxajana, a Jana Jiraxis. So I think it might be something like that. Hero power, summon an elemental. It makes sense that it would be. It follows exactly what the card is trying to achieve here. I think that would be super badass, and it might that actually is pretty fucking good. I don't know. I'd try it. But yeah, that's pretty exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what, in fact, the hero power of that turns into. Our next card is going to be a Nerubian Unraveler. It's the 6 mana 5/5. Spells cost 2 more. So I see this card and I think of Loatheb, right? Because that was one of the cards in the game that it allowed you to counterplay on your opponent's turn in regards to them be unable to use spells to combo you out. So a lot of really good players would identify when your opponent, whether it be, Miracle Rogue, Freeze Mage, whatever combo deck that you would play spells in order to win over the course of one turn, and they'd be setting up for that moment or that particular turn. A good player could spot that, drop Loatheb, and then I would buy them an additional turn, which most of the time it would win them the game, depending on the situation that they were in and how they played out their previous turns. So when I see cards like this, I like the fact that you can disrupt your opponent's turn. But I would have preferred this card to say your opponent's spells cost 2 more for an additional turn or 2 turns. Because you playing it, it's understated for the mana cost. It doesn't have taunt. It doesn't have anything. First of all, it's an epic. So a free-to-play player who opens up this card, it's not very exciting for them. They see 4 words on this, and the words don't excite them. They don't see kill. They don't see concede. They don't see damage. They don't see face. They want they see an epic, they want it to be epic, and this does not give me that epic-y ring. So I like it. I like the fact that you're disrupting your opponent's turn. Also, when you're creating cards through Moonglade Portal, you have to kind of maybe play around getting the Nerubian Unraveler now, because you Moonglade and you think you can swipe after, but now you can't swipe because spells cost 2 more, so you have to play around, things like that. It's also another card when you go Doppelganger Evolve, it could come from there. So if if your opponent plans to play another spell, they no longer can. So it's just kind of another card that you have to think about before doing things, just in case. Very similar to the Naga Sea Witch. I don't think it's going to see a lot of play. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Loatheb, but it reminds me of, similar to Loatheb. The next one's going to be a really good card that they handed Rogue. Common at that. It's a 3 mana 2/3 combo. Give a friendly minion poisonous. So I think this is going to be a really good arena card. There's a couple people that mentioned it being really good in arena. I'd have to agree with them there. The thing is that giving it to Rogue, rogues don't have minion generation like paladins do and stuff like that. So it's not like they can easily give it to a minion. And a lot of the time, it's good in arena because arena's curve stone, and you're able to play this on a smaller minion, and you're going to have smaller minions in a rogue deck in arena because you basically play with all random cards. But in ranked, to see this played, Rogue is very particular in the cards it plays right now. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room for like extra shit. Like when you play Miracle Rogue, your deck is built for a specific purpose, and that purpose alone, and every card in the deck is helping either that purpose or synergizes well with the purposes that gets you to the end purpose. So adding cards like Plague Scientist to your Miracle Rogue is a lot, as cool as you think, using it on your 2/2 flower or your Sharazin that's going to come back to life the next turn. It could work out for you, but I don't think it fits particularly well in those decks. Maybe it fits better into Tempo Rogue. You know, you got a bunch of small minions going on. You can combo this with a 1-drop on 4. You already have a minion out. You know, you get some tempo that way. But to keep in mind, you know, it does have that combo, so it requires you to play a card with it. So whether it's 0 mana or 1 mana, you know, you're only going to be able to play this on 3, if not 4. I guess you could coin it out on 2 if you already have a minion down. But, you know, those are very specific situations. And on top of that, how many times on turn 2 or 3 has your opponent gone crazy unless that you're also playing against a rogue who made like a big Van Cleef or something? I don't know. I think it's good in Arena. I don't really see it being fantastic in Ranked, but I could be wrong. Again, it's really hard to tell, and there might be a deck at which it fits into. The next card is going to be Prince. It's going to be a 3-mana 3/3 battle cry. If your deck has no 3-cost cards, transform into a 3/3 copy of a minion. This is a card I didn't really understand at all. I generally do not understand this card at all. So you don't play any 3-cost fucking cards in your deck, which I don't like. Okay, what do I get? What are you giving me? And you give me, it's going to transform into a random copy of a 3/3. It could be any 3/3. And I can't think of any 3/3s off the top of my head that I really want this guy to transform into. It seems like a pointless fucking legendary. If I'm missing something here, let me know, and I'll feel a lot better. But I'm coming up with a blank here. I'm getting nothing. And again, I didn't do any research into like cards like this. Like, this is the first time I'm looking at it. I'm giving you right off the top of my head where I'm coming from. And this guy, he's going nowhere. I'm going 0 miles per hour right now. If your deck has no 3-cost cards, transform into a 3/3 copy of a minion. Oh, you choose your opponent's minion and you get the 3/3 into it? So you just copy in a random minion, transform into a copy of a minion, any minion. Okay, now I'm understanding. I can't read, guys. I'm so sorry. Okay. So I get to transform. So we're looking for a minion with like a death rattle or some form of effect here, like Ysera. Okay. But it's a 3/3 of it. Okay. So it's Faceless Manipulator, but 3/3 statted. Why can't I just say that? And then it seems there's also another card that we reviewed right when they announced the set that it says if you have no 2-drops in your deck, you have everything +1/+1. So maybe there's going to be decks that have no 2-drops or 3-drops now. The meta is going to be that late now. You can play an entire deck without any 2-drops. Highly unlikely. Could be, though. I've saved what I think is one of the best cards seen so far for last, Professor Putricide. Guys, take a look at this. I think this is the best legendary they've printed for Hunter since ever. Every Hunter legendary has sucked. Besides Dreadscale, because it was actually good against Muster for Battle. Besides that, there's Savannah Highmane is the closest thing Hunters have had to a good legendary. So this guy, a 4-mana 5/4, stats are there. Stats are on point. This is looking yoked. After you play a secret, put a random Hunter secret onto the battlefield. I'll let you guys, let's just sink that in. So, best case scenario. You play the Cloaked Huntress, you know, that says all your secrets cost 0. It lives. You drop Professor Putricide, and you turn into a super secret paladin. And what is it? Who am I? None of your business. You drop like 2 secrets. It turns into 4 secrets. You've got it's beyond a tiara. You've got almost a Christmas tree of secrets, and you're just having a party. Worst case scenario, you drop Putricide and he's a 5/4, and if you have a secret, you get 2 secrets, which is double the value. I love value. I don't think that this is going to push Hunters to number 1. I don't think this isn't going to push Hunters to anywhere near 1. I don't think it's going to push them to tier 2. But I think this, on top of 1 or 2 other Hunter cards that are relatively cheap and impact the early game, could in fact make Hunter a viable deck to play at higher rankings. Because right now, Hunter sucks. Hunter's okay if you get fucking Hearthstone him out and you get the ultimate draw and everything works out. Sure, Hunter's amazing. You'll win every game. That doesn't happen. Hunter will win but most of the time Hunter, like, it's the second worst deck besides Warlock right now. Warlock, every tournament they release the stats of Warlock, and Warlock is like less than, I think, 11% win rate, and Hunter is right along, it's like 20, 18, somewhere in there. It's not very good. So I think of this along with a couple other good Hunter cards, and Hunter's going to be back on the map. I don't particularly like the Hunter class. I think the hero power is very uninteractive. It just goes face every time, which means the decks most of the time go face every time. And whenever any Hunter deck is really good, it's a mid-range Hunter deck with the kind of essence of pushing a lot of face damage with decently statted minions that are very resilient and hard to get rid of. Or you just have full-blown fucking face Hunter, which is, again, pretty just, you know what I mean? Like, Hunter is not one of those decks, or one of those classes I hope that really reaches the tier 1, tier 2. I don't see how, like, if people remember back in the day when Secret Hunter was a thing, or Mid-Range Hunter was a thing, when Call of the Wild with 8 mana, that was never fun to play against. You know, Savannah Highmane, coin Call of the Wild, and then naturally play Call of the Wild, that was the worst thing to ever go against. It was horrible. I wanted to cry every time. So, as cool as this Hunter card is, I really hope Hunter still sucks. It's one of my least favorite classes to play, least favorite class to play against, and, I never forget-y. I'm not ever gonna forget it. I'm not going back to that time. I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure they stay at the bottom. Anyway, guys, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about these new cards. If I missed out on anything, or if you'd like to expand on whatever I've said, I would love to hear about it in the comment section below. These are very exciting times when new cards are released, and I love talking about them, love thinking of new decks, love brewing, and overall just I love new cards. It's fantastic. Changing of the meta, building new decks. Like, that's the most exciting part of Hearthstone for me. And when the meta's stale for, 3 or 4 months and then new cards come out, woo boy, the goose is on the loose. So with that, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Of course, can't wait to review some more cards with you guys, and I look forward to it as always. So anyway, I'm Robert Warshak, and happy whatever the hell day it is.